Good evening, everyone, and we are live. So, hi, everybody. I hope you had a great day. It's Thursday, and I'm still in Munich. I thought that I would travel to Hamburg this evening, but my plans changed, so I will take the flight tomorrow morning. So, I have to get up at 6, so quite early this time. Then we will have the workshop tomorrow from 12 to 4 in the afternoon. And after that, I will take the flight home. So I hope you had a great day. I hope the weather was better wherever you are at the moment than it was in Munich. It's cold and rainy the entire day. And we're still waiting for the summer. Cool. If you're joining, I see people on Instagram are joining, people on YouTube are joining. That's great. Today we have a cool topic. We will talk about, is management consulting really worth it? So I will talk about my own experience in management consulting, and maybe if you are in the chat, maybe you let me know and write in the chat. Do you think that management consulting is worth it? So what do you think? Write it in the chat, and I will go through that afterwards. And as always, if you have any questions regarding the topic I will talk about, then please write in the chat. I will go through the content first, then for the guys on YouTube, because we will upload the video afterwards on YouTube for the people who want to rewatch. And after that, I will answer all the questions in the chat. Okay, so please stick to the end. If you have any questions, then write them in the comment, and I will answer them at the end. So let me do my content for 10 to 15 minutes first, and then I will answer all of your questions. So please write them in the chat. Good, but I think we're good to go, and I think we can start the video. So let's go. So do you think, sorry, bad start, let me start again. Jesus, it's too late. So do you want to know if management consulting is really worth it? In this video, I will talk about my own experience as a management consultant. Hi everyone, my name is Johannes Niari and welcome to this channel. Welcome to Mastering Consulting. And on this channel, I want to help you to learn the necessary skills to have a great career in management consulting. But I also want to help you to live a healthy and well-balanced life. If you're new to this channel and if you don't want to miss any video about management consulting and your career management consulting, then please, if you're on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel, hit the bell. And also, if you have any questions, then please write in the comments. And today we have a great topic. I will talk about if management consulting is really worth it. And the reason I talk about this topic is the following. So first of all, I receive a lot of questions from you about my own experience in management consulting. So that's the first reason, obviously. And second, I mean, let's be honest, as you probably all know, management consulting can be very, very challenging. So obviously, as you know, you have very long working hours. Sometimes you don't have a lot of time for your private life. So this means you don't have much time doing sports. You maybe have not much time to see your friends and family. So it can be very challenging to kind of balance your private and your professional life. And also sometimes you don't get much sleep. It can be very demanding during the project times. So there are a lot of arguments against management consulting. Nevertheless, many people have or choose consulting as their main career goal. So they want to get into the industry and they want to live the fancy, or as many people think, fancy lifestyle of a management consultant. And now I am in management consulting for about 3 years, and for me it's now time to reflect on the question if management consulting is really worth it for me, okay? And I will talk about my own experience and about the thoughts that I have regarding this question. So before we answer the question if management consulting is really worth it, we have to answer one question that is very important and kind of the prerequisite to answer this question. And I think it's very important that you first sit down and define what brings value to your life. And this is very important. So let me explain. So it's very important. So you cannot answer the question if something brings value to you or is worth it if you don't know or are not very clear about what brings value to your life in general. Okay, so what do I mean by that? I think every one of us has to make work life choices. Okay, so this means that you have your private life and you have your work life, and every one of us has kind of a different preference on how these things should balance out. Okay, so there is one group who has a strong focus on private life. Okay, these are the people who are very focused on family life. They want to meet their friends. They want to have a lot of fun. They want to travel a lot, see the world, and kind of enjoy the private life. And then there's the other group. So these are the people who are fully focused on their job, who get the most satisfaction if they're successful in their job, and who kind of try to build a kind of legacy, who want to build something great, do something great of their lives. Okay, and those are is the other side. Those are the people who are very focused on their professional career. And of course, there are kind of thousands of shades in between. Okay, so every one of us has a different kind of preference between the work life and the private life. Okay, this is very important to understand. And you, before you answer the question if management consulting is really worth it for you, have to answer your question: what do you really want to do in life? And think about the things that really add value to your life. Okay, so I want you to sit down and make a list of the things that add value to your life before you think about the question if management consulting is worth it for you. And again, it's very important that you are honest to yourself, and there is no wrong or right, there is no good or bad. I think the most important thing is that you are just honest to yourself. Okay, so just the first part. So make sure that your answer for yourself is management. What brings value to your life in order to answer if management consulting is really worth it for you. Okay. So after having said this, let's go to the next topic. And I want to talk about the cons, so the negative things about management consulting first. Okay, so these are the arguments where some people say, oh, okay, this is a very negative side of management consulting, and I don't want to do this, for example. And there are three things that I can mention. So first of all, it's obviously the long working hours. Okay, so as you probably know, management consulting consultants, depending obviously on the kind of consulting that you do, but let's say on average they work between 60 and 80 hours per week. Okay, this is the average, I would say. And obviously this makes it really hard for you to kind of balance your life. Okay, so this means that you don't have much time for sports, for example. You don't have much time for meeting friends and family. So it can be very, very demanding. And give me a second. Sorry, I had technical issues on Instagram. So obviously you have to have a very high workload and have very long working hours, and that's a negative point. Another negative aspect of management consulting is that there's usually a lot of pressure, and there can be, at least in intensive project phases, there can be a lot of stress too. And for some people, it's hard to handle that kind of pressure, and this is also a very negative aspect sometimes in management consulting. And third, you have to mention that in management consulting, it is a service industry. So you as a service provider are kind of very inflexible. So what do I mean by that? So it's very common that if the client says he wants to do the call on Monday morning at a certain time, then you have to do the call Monday morning, okay? If there's a very intensive project phase and the client asks you to stay until Friday late in the evening, you probably in most cases have to stay until Friday late in the evening, okay? So you're very inflexible, okay? So the client obviously is king, and you as a service provider have to kind of build your work and build your life, and also unfortunately sometimes your private life around the schedule of your client. Okay, so you are very inflexible as a management consultant, and I think for me personally, I'm someone who loves to have a lot of freedom. This can be very challenging from time to time. Okay, so let's summarize the negative aspects of management consulting. So first of all, you have long working hours, and this makes it hard sometimes to have a balance between your professional and private life. So second, sometimes, at least in intensive project phases, there's a lot of stress and there's a lot of pressure. And third, there is a lot of inflexibility because you as a service provider have to fully work around your client. So these are the negative things, but also let's talk about the positive things. Okay, so what are arguments are there for management consulting? And for me personally, I again see three things, or I want to narrow it down to three important things. So the first one, and this is for me the biggest argument, is that in management consulting, you grow and learn every single day. So what do I mean by that? In management consulting, it's very common and very typical that you are challenged every day. Okay, I mean, we are working a lot, we are working on very challenging projects, we are facing new industries, new problems on a weekly basis. And obviously, this forces you to grow and to learn every day. Okay, so there's a very steep learning curve. And I personally, I am a person that loves personal growth, and for me, this is one of the biggest motivations why I am in management consulting. Okay, so this is definitely a positive aspect because after a year working in management consulting, you have much more experience, you have much more knowledge, and you grew much more than probably a person that did 1 year, for example, work in a corporate. Okay, so the learning curve is very, very steep, and that's a very positive aspect of management consulting. A second positive aspect of management consulting is that you're working with great people, and this is true both on the client side and on the team side. So usually, as you know, getting into management consulting is very competitive. Okay, so you usually have people with very good grades. You have people with who are very capable, have good skills, have very great professional experience, and these are just your colleagues, and you're connecting and interacting with those people on a daily basis. But also on the client side, you working with top management, you usually work with a very senior management, and you can obviously learn a lot from them. So this means that during work, you are surrounded by great people, but also you build a great network for your lifetime. And I think this is a very positive aspect about management consulting too. The third positive aspect that I want to highlight is basically the lifestyle, and I include in lifestyle kind of the traveling lifestyle, but also kind of, and this means like having, for example, business class flights, sleeping in very nice hotels, going to expensive restaurants. Having great team events, for example. This is all a very nice part of management consulting. Also, as you probably know, salary is usually above average management consulting, depending on the firm you work for. And also, you have great career opportunities. Okay, so obviously, you can stay within the company, and then you can have a great career there and go for the partner track, for example. But also in management consulting, there are great exit opportunities that you have. Okay, and this is really, really special in management consulting, and definitely a positive aspect. Okay, so let's summarize what are the three positive things that I see in management consulting. It's first of all the growth and the learning curve. So you learn the new things every single day. It's second that you build a great network and are surrounded by great people that you work with on a very daily basis. And it's third that you have a great, or at least an exciting lifestyle with a good salary and great career opportunities. Okay, so those are the positive things, at least in my perspective. So we talked about the negative things. We talked about the positive things. So what is my conclusion? So is consulting now finally worth it? And I would say for me personally, yes, it is worth it. But as I said at the very beginning, the reason for that is based on my personal preferences. Okay, so you have to know, you have to understand that I'm a person who likes to work a lot, so I kind of get a lot of satisfaction out of what I do in work. Okay, so I want to build something. I have very clear career aspirations. I know exactly what I build the next 10 to 20 years and what I expect my life to be, especially my professional life to be. in the next 10 to 20 years. And I know, or at least I don't have a very big problem to kind of narrow a little bit down on my private life. Okay, so of course I want to have a private life, so I plan a lot of time for my sports, for friends, for families, for hobbies. But I know that my time for that is limited, and that's totally okay for me. But this is only based on my personal preferences. Okay, and I know that there are people who say, okay, I want to have more time for friends, I have more time for hobbies and sports, for example. And for those people, management consulting might be not a long-term solution. Okay, so I would say for me personally, it's very, very worth it. But again, I want to highlight that this highly depends on your personal preferences about what brings value to your life personally. And I want you to think about that, as I said in the beginning, as a kind of basis for your career decision. Good. So that's it. That are my thoughts about the question if consulting is really worth it. So on YouTube, I want to thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, and if you don't want to miss any new videos, then please subscribe to this channel, leave a thumb up, and hit the bell. And I want to thank you for your time and hope to see you next time. Goodbye, Johannes. Good. So let's go through the questions. So if you have any questions about this topic, then please write them now in the chat. I will go through the questions now. I will start with YouTube, but I see that there are no questions. Let's switch to Instagram. Management consulting is worth it if you like late nights. That's true. Prince Kumar thinks, I think if it pays good money, includes traveling and problem solving, then it's fun. Yes, it definitely is. It's great to start a career in management consulting. It creates skills and tool set. That's very true. I'm about to finish my economics undergraduate degree. Is it worth doing a master's for getting into management consulting? Yes, it is worth it. I mean, and usually it's required. I mean, it depends where you work. And so usually after your undergrad, you can go directly into consulting, but then you would start out as an analyst most probably, or junior consulting. So there are several words for this kind of position. And after that, the firm will probably ask you to do a master's or an MBA, something like that. And then you come back as a consultant again. Okay, so this is what I call the American model. Okay, so this is what the people in the US do a lot. What people in Europe do most of the time is that they immediately after their bachelor's degree do their master's degree. Okay, but this is because we have a slightly different career system. Okay, I see that the European model is more and more moving towards the American model, but still I would say in Europe most people do their master's degree directly after their bachelor's degree. That's what I would say. It depends where you live. I cannot judge for Asia, for example, because I don't have much experience in Asia, but I know for sure that like in America it's usually that way, and in Europe it's usually the other way. Okay, how many years do you think the average consultant lasts for under pressure? I mean, the average consultant, I mean, okay, let's talk about pressure first, okay? Because I think there are two parts to the question. Let's talk about pressure in management, UK, okay. Yes, in UK, I mean, it depends what you want to do. If you feel like you want to get some work experience now, then I would rather go for work, go for a consulting job now and try to get some professional experience and do after that your master's degree or MBA. But I think it's up to you what you want to do. But expect that you have to do a master's at some point, right? This is very important. Okay, so let's go back to the question. How many years do you think the average consultant lasts for under pressure? Yeah, so I mean, it's important to understand that in management consulting, it's not a constant level of high pressure. It's not the case, okay? There is a lot of pressure, but it's project based work. So, what does that mean? This means that usually you kind of have very intensive project phases, okay? And these are the phases that people like to talk about. These are the phases where you kind of work very long hours, don't get much sleep, have to work on the weekends. But these are, let's say, like 4 weeks in a year, okay? And there this really happens, and there you have to be available. But in most cases, and this is important to understand, I mean, in most cases, my work is done between 9 and 10 a.m. p.m. Sorry, okay. So I don't have to do all nighters all the day. And on average, I would say it's like 60 to 80 hours. It highly depends, okay. But I would say if you go on average, let's say 60 hours. I think there are several studies that show that at McKinsey, for example, you work like 70 hours on average, okay. So I think the big four, it's a bit less. Some consultancies, it's a bit more. Okay, so there is no constant level under pressure. That's very important to understand. And I would say that I mean, there are also studies about that most consultants on average are like 2.5 years or so in management consulting. Okay, this is, I think, the average or the median. I'm not sure about that. But the reason for that is that most people only go into consulting to kind of get the brand, get the experience, and then get or seize one of the exit opportunities to kind of change their career path. Okay, so this is what most people do, I would say, and then there are the few hardcore people who go the project management road and kind of try to make a career in management consulting. Okay, so I would say 2 years is the average, but I don't think that it's necessarily because of the pressure all of the time, but it's maybe also because they just want to do something else. Okay. Okay, Germany. Yes, I'm from Germany. What kind of projects can be recommended to indulge in during undergrad degree in commerce or management consulting? Okay, so what do you mean with projects? If you mean like university projects, I would try to always get kind of practical work. So at university, I think like the most valuable projects for my consulting careers are obviously the projects which are very close to consulting work. Okay, so these are typically projects where you have to solve a very certain problem, and in the ideal case you collaborate with a real company. Okay, so because there you have kind of the client service provider situation, and I think that this is very helpful to learn. Okay, so to get comfortable with presenting in front of the client, and it's always better because let's face it, most people at universities, it's a bit different at business schools, but many people at university don't know how to do management consulting presentations. So if you have the chance to kind of join a practical university course where you have a kind of real company that you have to do a project for, I would definitely go for those kind of projects. Wie geht's? Gut. Thanks. Dankeschön. Good. Then what other questions do we have? Oops. Do I help in preparing CV and cover letter? No, I don't. Some people, I received some CVs. I did this for 2 people, and one is still waiting for my answer. Um, I think there are better sources than me. It was not my CV that got me into management consulting. Let me tell you that. I mean, it was okay. I mean, it was not below the threshold, but I convinced through my skills and my network. This is my strength. Okay, then another question. Oh, nice. I would like to know if you have any idea, maybe opinion about working in PwC. It's kind of tempting for me personally to work there. Danke for us. Okay. Yes, I have obviously some friends working for PwC. I mean, the question is in what kind of department? I mean, PwC is a very big company, right? So maybe you can be more specific. Do you talk about like the advisory side? Is it more like accounting? Is it tax? Is it M&A? So it highly depends. I mean, maybe you can be more specific about that. in management consulting. Okay, good. Then there are two kind of. If you join like Strategy End, this is the strategy consulting arm of PwC. I know that they kind of pay higher salaries than the average in strategy consulting. I think they pay higher salaries even than McKinsey, but lower salaries than Stern Stewart. And it's kind of it's a good working environment. I only hear positive things about Strategy End. Strategy End was formerly Booz and Allen. This is a strategy boutique. This was a strategy boutique back then, and there are very good people there, and the projects are very nice. So this is the strategy side of PwC, and the kind of consulting side. So if we talk about the advisory side, um, it's more operational work, as far as I know. But I mean, the people that I know that work for PwC are very happy. Okay, but you have to you have to know that PwC is a very large company. Okay, so this means that it's almost like a corporate. Okay, it's not a small and agile company. It has some very tough structures. It has a lot of hierarchies. It also can become very political. That's kind of the negative side of large consultancies. Okay, especially like PwC. I think PwC or Accenture. I'm not sure, but one of those companies is the largest consultancy in the world, and it obviously, structures have to be kind of corporate like. Okay, so be aware of that. But in generally, the brand is great. I think the teams are great there. Salary, at least in strategy end, is very very good. For the normal advisory division, I don't know, to be honest. Yeah, but I think there's no one on. Yeah, that's what I can say about it. But I didn't work there, so that's all I can say. I hope this helps you. Sorry. Or personal. So do you mean with personal HR department? So especially I know someone who's working in the HR department, and he's very happy. But he complains about the structures there because it's almost like working in a corporate. That's what he says. Okay, so what advice would you give in terms of networking? How do you go about it as a newbie to the industry? Very good question. Networking is very important. Okay, very, very, very important. And I would say if you start in a company, then your first goal should be to network within the company. Okay, so this means that you try to meet or try to get to know your peers. Okay, so your batch. If you start in management consulting, I would start with that. Then obviously you should try to connect with the project managers, with some experts in your firm, with some partners. Okay, so I would always start within the firm. Okay, this is especially at the beginning very important because, especially if you start, you will or you have to rely on information that is only available in the firm. Okay, so because let's face it. So if you start, you know nothing about business and management. So you have to rely on people who face the kind of same problem again before you, and it's very important that you start networking within the company. Okay. After that, you can start to network outside the company, and there depends what kind of network you want to build. I would always try to network with the people from the client's firm. So there's a book from Farazi. What's the name of it? Never eat alone. Yeah, and this is a kind of very cool phrase. Okay, so if you're at the client, never eat alone. Okay, so try to kind of have lunch with colleagues, have lunch with I don't know, people from the client that you have contact with. I think this is the easiest way to do it. Okay, because also one thing, the best time to network is if you are at university and at business school, because even if you are in management consulting, let's be honest, you work from Monday to Friday, and then on Friday you probably want to see your boyfriend or girlfriend, and then you don't have much time to build a great professional network. Okay, so this is why I think it's very important to use your time during your studies to build a network and to keep the contact. Okay, so maintain your network and stay in touch with those people from university, because I mean they grow with you together, and at one point the your kind of peers at university are the people who make decisions. Okay, so this is how I would go for it. And it's also important, maybe one remark, to have a kind of structured approach. Okay, maybe you make a list of people, and one methodology that I got from my mentor, or one of the people I consider my mentor, he has a system to a kind of a structured approach to develop a or to build a network, and it goes to following. So he has a list of people, and everyone on the list gets a kind of a grade or number. Okay, and he classifies in the following way. He gives a 3, so it's a scale from 1 to 5. Okay, he gives a 3 if the person is at the same level. Okay, so that if you meet and exchange thoughts, that you're kind of on the same level. Then he gives a 4 if the person on the list is slightly above him. Okay, so if the person can bring more value to him than he can bring to the person, and obviously the 5 are the ones who bring much more value than he can bring to them. Okay, and it goes down with the same logic. Okay, so people within a grade 2 are the ones who bring slightly less value than he can bring to them, and then grade number 1 is if there are people who bring almost no value to him. So then he has a list with the names and the grades. Okay, and he always tries to network with the 4s. Okay, so he tries to network with people who bring slightly more value than he brings to them. Okay, and this is kind of his strategy. And he says it's very difficult to network with the 5s because they usually are way above you. So for example, I don't know, if we talk about financial numbers, and not that money is kind of separated between good and bad, but it's easy to explain. So if you are kind of a student and you want to meet with a billionaire who's probably a 5 on your list, then he's probably no interest in meeting you. Okay, so maybe you just try to network with someone who has slightly more money than you, slightly more influence than you, slightly more experience than you, because then the gap is not that big. Okay, so this is a system that one of my mentors uses, just as a remark. Okay, thank you, this means a lot. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for this Erfahrung mit dir sein. Super, yeah, very welcome. If you have more questions about PwC, then you can also write me a direct message, then I can reach out to my network and see if I get some more information. Good. Are there any more questions? Okay, there's a question. Currently taking my MBA degree and sorry, messed it up. Currently taking my MBA degree and planning to apply to consulting firms. Any tips on making cover letters or resumes? Okay, I don't give that much tips about resumes and cover letters. I mean, there are better sources. I mean, I'm not a HR person, but I do screen CVs. Let's be honest. I mean, the first thing I look at is the grade, obviously, because I need to kind of a first impression. After that, I look on the personal experiences, and with this I mean kind of internships that the person did, and after that I look on the extracurricular stuff. Okay, so the person, I don't know, went to kind of student club, and yeah. But I also try to look for personality. Okay, so very often in between the line you learn a lot about personalities. Okay, so that's all I can say. I mean, there are so many sources and resources about cover letters, and I don't want to give any wrong tips because I never really thought that this was so too much important. Okay, I think people think too much about. I mean, yes, it's important if you send out applications. It's important to have a nice cover letter, but it's kind of overrated, I think. Okay, so I would rather focus. If I had one hour time, I would kind of spend 15 minutes on my cover letter, and the other 45 minutes I would try to learn a skill, okay, that helps me in consulting. Sorry, I know this is a short and unsatisfying answer, but okay. Christopher asks, what country are you in? I'm in Germany. I'm living here in Munich, and I really like it. Yeah, I was born here in Munich, and I study in Germany, and I stayed in Germany. My projects are mainly in Europe. I have projects, I mean, especially one project 2 years ago was kind of very international, so I traveled across Europe. This was kind of cool, but I haven't done a project in the US or Asia. I was in Africa during my studies for a time, for like 4 months, and we built a student consulting club there in Nairobi in Kenya. This was very exciting. This was pretty cool. Yeah, but I'm mainly based in Europe and most of the time in Germany. Good. Do you have any more questions? Then, if you, oops. Good. Then, if you don't have any more questions, then I want to thank you for your time and to. I think I need to train more to ace my case interview. You're right. I'm overthinking my resume too much. Yes, probably. Yeah, I mean, it's good to have a good resume, but let's be honest. People take a look at your grades. This is the most important thing at the beginning. Then they will look at your internships. Then they will look at your extracurricular activities. And if I receive a CB, I only go through the hard facts, and very often I do not read all the text. Okay, let's be honest. And I would rather focus on the skills, so prepare for the case studies, learn PowerPoint, Excel, and yeah. And don't waste your time with things you don't like. I mean, especially if you prepare for an interview, don't focus on the things that you don't like. Rather focus on the things that you like. Okay, so you want to keep it fun, and you want to kind of excel at your strength and not compensate only for your weaknesses. Okay, so this is also kind of a mental preparation thing. Good. From Indonesia, but you're studying in Germany. Wow, that's very interesting. What city are you studying? And hopefully you're in Munich. It's the best city in Germany. Do you think in consulting, natives of each country are progressing more easier than foreigners? It depends. Depends where you are. I mean, if you have a international project, then it shouldn't. I mean, especially if you work for McKinsey. McKinsey is known to be very, very international. Bain and BCG are also, they say they're international, but they think more like in practices or in yeah. So most German BCG consultants actually work in Germany or in Europe. But at McKinsey, it's very common that you have some time in Asia, have some time in the US, in Europe, in Africa, because they really want their consultants to get this international experience. But I would say, of course, it's easier, but it's mainly easier because of the language barrier, right? Because I mean, obviously, it's easier to network with the client, and I mean, this is also a very, very important thing to understand, that in management consulting, it's not only about fancy projects in the large cities, with the fancy hotels. It's very often you have to optimize a kind of production site in the middle of nowhere in Poland, for example, right, or in Germany. And then, of course, people there, I mean, these are usually is working class, and they don't speak English very well. And I mean, obviously, if I want to optimize a production site in India, and no one there speaks English, obviously, as a German, would have quite some problems to do good work there. Okay. and that's kind of the disadvantage that you have as a foreigner. But I would say it is a disadvantage, but it's not a big thing. I would go for an international firm then, and it shouldn't be that critical then. This IG live gave me new information about consulting management. Thank you for your insight. Yeah, you're very welcome. How long do you plan to be in management consulting? Yeah, very good question. I think that I will go for the partner track, to be honest. So my goal is that probably the next, I mean, this year I'm becoming a project manager. Then I would have 4 years to make it to partner if I don't take a break. I mean, and this is, or I mean, at minimum 4 years, but I would say 4 years. Then I think I want to become partner to learn to sell projects, and after that I want to go more to the private equity side. But I want to, so what I want to do at the end, I don't want to work for a private equity firm. I would rather open my own firm and then start investing in companies, restructuring them, and probably building a company portfolio. So there's one guy in Germany, he's called Walter Dröge, and he is the only one in management consulting who has a net worth of 10 billion US dollars and or euros. And he had the same model, so he kind of bought companies. He first founded his own consultancy, then he invested in companies and built a company portfolio. And I think this is very cool, and I think I will go for that. So the plan is to stay into management in management consulting, make probably partner, and then starting investing. That's my plan. But ask me again in a year. I'm studying in Wismar near Hamburg. Okay, very cool. Then you should definitely visit Munich. What's about social responsibility and being a consultant from a subjective perspective? Social responsibility in terms of what? Social responsibility is a broad term. Are you talking about kind of sustainability, like all the flights and the lifestyle? Are you talking about laying off people? Are you talking about... Norman, you have to be more specific about the question, sorry. But in general, until Norman specifies his question, I mean, responsibility. Like blue washing from companies. Sorry, I don't know what blue washing is. Is this a fancy term that I don't know? I look it up. What is blue washing? Okay. Blue washing. Okay. Okay, it's similar to greenwashing. Blue washing is if you kind of fake your your corporate ethics. Okay, it's similar to greenwashing. Okay. Social responsibility and being a consultant. Yeah, I mean, how do you? It's so hard to kind of look. The thing is that ethics is a very very individual thing, right? So every one of us here in the live, and we are 12 people now, including me. We are 13, and every one of us has a different definition of what ethic is and what a good ethic is. Okay, so I think it's very hard to define what social responsibility really is. And I think like so the tough thing about management consulting is that, especially in strategy consulting, that your task is usually to make the company more efficient, and in most cases, this also means that you have to reduce the workforce. Okay, basically you have to fire people, and this is a really tough part. Okay, and there are a lot of discussions within this industry and also within like between colleagues in what kind of if this is justified or not. Because the one argument is, for example, that I mean, if you don't fire people, then the company will not survive. Okay, this is the one case. The other case is sometimes we do layoffs to increase the profit margin from 6% to 6.5%. Okay, so and there obviously you can argue, I mean, if this is really necessary. But I'm not the one to judge, right? Or the one who wants to judge that, sorry. Because I think at the end it's a balance of forces. So we have very good labor protection laws, especially in Germany, and they're pretty tough. And I think that it's the job from the people at the unions to kind of protect the jobs, and I'm not against them. It's quite the opposite. I support what they are doing, and because I know that there needs to be a counterbalance to the work that consultants do, right? And so I think it's a balance, okay? And yes, consulting is more on the side of becoming more efficient and sometimes to lay off people and having that kind of view. And this is very difficult and it's not always nice, but it's part of it. Yeah. But I wouldn't. So, but it's hard to say. I mean, is it socially responsible to reduce costs by laying off people? I don't know. It's a very very tough question, and that's why it's very hard to answer. I hope this kind of answers your question, Norman. But otherwise, please, yeah, let me know. Okay, then sorry guys, I have to get up tomorrow very early, so I will do like the three questions that we have now in the chat. I will answer them. After that, I have to go to bed. Okay, I used to work as a consultant on a small firm, but now we don't have new projects or clients. I'm planning to transition. What skills or technical knowledge would be critical for a consultant? This depends on the level of a consultant. If you talk about classic management consulting, I would focus on PowerPoint, Excel at the beginning, and then if you have a technical focus, obviously, like communication, organization skills are also very important. But if you want to have a more specific focus, like if you want to go to financial consulting or technical consulting, then obviously you should have very strong technical skills. Yeah, that's what I would recommend. And I think I have to launch my course now because I'm getting like every day 2 or 3 questions. What kind of skills you should have to prepare for your career? But I'm working on a course. Very soon you will know how I think about this. Okay, then Richard, if having work experience in auditing assurance field after undergraduation, in which field of consulting do you recommend to go for after MBA? It depends on what you're interested in. So it highly depends. I don't know. If you are interested in strategy questions, then go to MBB. If you're interested in technical questions, then go to Accenture, for example. If you are interested in private equity, then go to private equity consultancies or stuff like that. So I think, so my philosophy is that in order to make a good career choice, you have to be very clear about what your interests are, okay? So if you're genuinely interested in something, then you will always find a way, okay? If you really like to spending time on a certain topic or working in a certain environment, then you will make it happen and then you will get a job there. And it's more important to go for the things that you like to do, because I mean, in consulting you work a lot of, and I mean, you have long work hours, and you better have a topic that you like. So think about what questions interest you, read books about them, and then decide for a consultancy. That's how I approached it and how I still approach it. I don't care at all about my salary, to be honest. I mean, luckily I have a good salary and luckily I have great career opportunities, but it's only because I do what I love. And it sounds so stupid and so silly, especially in consulting, but for me personally, it's the truth. And I think it's very important that you be very honest to yourself what you want to do with your time. And all the rest just comes and follows. Good. Research. Okay, strategy. Yeah, then go for the strategy consultancies. Then tackle MBB, McKinsey, Bain, BCG, or smaller firms. I'm working for Stern Stewart because they had a kind of better package and better career opportunities for me personally compared to McKinsey. Good. Then last questions. Do you have any recommendation? Which book should we read in order to improve our knowledge about consulting and management, given that most of us are students and maybe we lack of experiences? Yes, I have, and I made a live about that 2 days ago, I think, or yesterday even. The good thing about doing a live on a daily basis is that I cover almost every topic, and I did a live. So go to YouTube, please, because you can also watch it on IGTV, but I highly recommend it to watch it on YouTube because this is better for the YouTube algorithm. So you have to search for my name and Mastering Consulting, then you will find the video. Good. Okay, last question here that I received. Why MBA are so popular for consulting? So why is an MBA, why is it so popular in management consulting? Because it's a proof that you can perform on a certain level. That's why. Okay, so if you got into a prestigious MBA program, then usually you have great grades. You also have a good network. You know how to work in a professional environment, and this is kind of a proof of concept. Okay, so they understand if you manage it to make the MBA, you probably will manage it, or they think you can manage it to work in management consulting. That's why. Good, guys, I have to get up like in 6 hours, so I have to get some sleep. And I want to thank you for your time. I will do the live tomorrow. I don't know, to be honest, because I have to travel tomorrow evening. I will let you know through Instagram. Okay? I want to thank you for your time. Hope you have a great evening and talk to you tomorrow. Goodbye.